Hey there, today I'm gonna explain a survival thriller film that depicts a mountain climber who gets himself stuck in a narrow space of mountain. A giant rock slides and gets lodged on his arm in the middle of his climbing adventure. But the 300-pound rock on his hand makes all his escape attempts seem impossible. Having realized that death is inevitable, he makes a bold move to free himself. He takes a knife and drives it through the muscles and bones of his arm. After having his arm amputated, he covers the wound with a cloth and makes a tight knot around it to stop bleeding. This will probably buy him a few minutes extra before he blacks out. The uncharted paths throughout the mountain makes it really hard for him to get out of the area. After some struggle, he finds dirty rainwater on the ground which brings him back to life. Instead of lying there and waiting for someone, he decides to continue searching for people in that vast deserted terrain, ignoring all the risks that might take his life. Rick's Recap welcomes you to 127 hours. The movie unfolds with Aaron, an avid hiker who chooses a secluded location for his hiking adventure. Along the way, he meets two lost girls and offers to help guide them to safety. As they continue on their journey together, Aaron suggests a more challenging path that leads to a beautiful hidden lake. Excited by the prospect, the girls follow Aaron. While the girls get busy tackling a narrow space, Aaron makes his mind to prank them and suddenly falls down. As they try to follow suit, they realize that Aaron had only faked his fall, and is safely swimming in the lake below. Impressed by the surprise, the girls don't delay joining him in the lake. After enjoying the beautiful scenery, the trio must eventually part ways, with Aaron continuing on his hike and the girls heading home. Before they say goodbye, they take a selfie together and the girls invite Aaron to a party the following night. As Aaron proceeds on his hike, he becomes excited by the challenges ahead. However, things take a turn for the worse when he tries to grab a large rock while descending the mountain. The rock slips and becomes lodged on Aaron's hand, trapping him between the mountains. Despite his best efforts, Aaron is unable to free himself and needs help to escape. Realizing that no one can hear him from this isolated location, Aaron frantically searches through his hiking gear in hopes of finding a solution to his predicament with no chance of rescue in the near future. He attempts to free himself by using his knife to break the rock trapping his hand. But the rock is too solid to be cracked and his left hand is not strong enough to break it. As the sun sets, Aaron's spirits begin to sink as he realizes that he may not make it out alive. In a last-ditch effort, he turns on his camera to record a final message in case he doesn't survive. He explains that he had not told anyone about his hike, and that no one knows that he has been trapped for over 25 hours. Aaron also reveals that he is running low on food and water, with only 500 milliliters of water left in reserve. Just as Aaron is losing hope, he thinks he hears a faint voice in the distance. He screams for help, but there is no reply as no one is there. The night turns darker and Aaron is left alone with his thoughts, unsure of how he will survive the night. Soon he begins to feel hungry and eats some of the food he has in reserve. Aaron suddenly remembers that he was invited to a party by the two girls he had helped earlier, and imagines the party and the drinks, but then his thoughts turn to a monologue about how he left for his hike on Saturday and didn't answer his mother's call. He wishes she were there with a rescue team. On the third day, Aaron tries to create a pulley system with a rope on the rock trapping his hand, but is unsuccessful. His hand is now in bad shape and he's run out of water. Suddenly a bird flying overhead catches his attention, along with some wild insects around him. Aaron thinks of eating them. On top of that, the fact that the sun is going to shine for the next 15 minutes makes him nervous. Starving and with no other options left, he decides to amputate his hand. After tying off his arm, he tries to use his knife, but it's become too dull from trying to break the rock, leaving some minor scars on his hand. Frustrated, Aaron records a message on his camera warning others to never buy cheap tools. He spends another day trapped in the mountain area. As night falls, he thinks about his past with his family and friends. He falls asleep and dreams of heavy rainfall providing him enough water to survive, but as the water level rises, he wakes up to realize it's just a dream. On the fifth day, Aaron experiences mental breakdown and starts to act strange, talking and laughing to himself. He regrets not telling anyone about his hiking plans and wishes his mom had known where he was. He even wishes the store owner who sold him the hiking equipment had known his plan, so they could have reported him missing and sent a search team. Aaron expresses his love for his parents on his camera. Hopeless of being rescued, he spends another day trapped in the mountain, but this time he decides to try something different. He drives the knife through his hand, which makes him bleed profusely. The pain is unbearable and he can't proceed any further for the day. On the sixth day, his wound gets worse from excessive bleeding. In a moment of despair, Aaron writes "Rest in peace," along with his name and date of birth on the rock, but then something unexpected happens. He begins to hallucinate a small baby who he imagines as his future son. However, the vision sparks a light of hope in him. Ignoring how his life will become after this, he starts to push his trapped hand on the opposite side, which causes his bone to fracture. He slowly and painfully cuts off his hand, finally freeing himself from the rock. Then he takes a photo of his hand under the rock before leaving the place. A while later, he finally sees dirty rainwater on the surface and drinks as much as he can to quench his thirst. The sight of a bird flying in the sky makes him feel free like the bird. Wandering across the desert with his bleeding arm, he eventually spots a family hiking in the area and runs to them, letting out a scream. They call for a rescue team that airlifts him out of the area. Aaron is taken to a hospital where he receives further treatment. A few years later, the vision of the child he saw while trapped in the mountain comes true. Aaron gets married to his love and has a son that resembles the child he visualized. Even though he becomes physically challenged with one arm being inactive, he keeps on with mountaineering and nurtures his passion for hiking. He believes that some kind of supernatural power helped him visualize the image of a child, and it sparked a light of hope in him to get out of the place. He hiked across the barren mountain for 4 hours with a bleeding arm and refused to give up. This undaunting attitude kept him alive. The story is based on a true event. Thanks for being with us. Please subscribe to my channel.